Day Shift is the brand new Netflix original film that hit the streaming service on August 12th. The film stars Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, Megan Good, Natasha Liu Bordazzo, Carla Souza, Scott Adkins, and Snoop Dogg. Tell a story about Jamie Foxx's character, Bud Jablonski, who is a secret vampire hunter. But when his family, played by Megan Good, and his daughter need $10,000, he needs to go back into the Union in order to gain money. But he runs himself into a villain who wants to take something that he took from her. The film is an hour and 53 minutes and is rated R. Welcome back to a brand new movie review here on Mac Talk Movies. We're talking about Day Shift. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown show every single Monday. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Also, please comment down below. First of all, if you've seen Day Shift, let me know what your thoughts on the movie. Do you like it? Not like it? Do you have fun? Not fun? If you've not seen it, tell me. Didn't even know this was hitting the streaming service this week, and are you gonna check it out this weekend on Netflix? And also, please like the video, guys. Really helps the channel more than you think. Helps the algorithms for more people when they're looking for this review for Day Shift. This will pop up. So please like the video if you like the review that's coming out of you right now. So I knew actually nothing about the plot other than the poster, which doesn't really show any vampire-like things going on. Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, Snoop Dogg were kind of the headline actors who were pushed, and I was like, cool, those are all people who I like. And Dave Franco is an actor who I really wanted to see just become a bigger and bigger deal. I've just always thought he was standouts. Also in just comedies. I just talked about him in The After Party earlier this year where he was a real standout, but just movies, even like Neighbors, the Jump Street franchise, The Disaster Artist, Now You See Me, he just always brings it. So I've always wanted him to do better. And Jamie Foxx is in a very perfect lead for this type of movie. So let's get into this movie with my positives, my negatives, and my score. I think the biggest positive for me is actually the stunt work, the actual action scenes between human, vampire, and vampire were really good in the movie. They weren't like top tier action scenes, but was I bored or laughing at these action scenes? Absolutely not. I was having a pretty good time watching them, especially there's one with Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco. They go into this house and they go with the brothers who are played by Steve Howey and Scott Adkins. That was a really fun action scene. It was my favorite action scene of the whole movie. The whole bit is that Dave Franco plays this Union officer, Seth, who is supposed to basically every time Jamie Foxx breaks protocol, he has to report back, and obviously she joins in the action. But Jamie Foxx is a perfect lead for this movie. And that's what I want to say with really most of the actors in the movie, that they know exactly what movie that they are in. The movie is not taking itself too seriously for the most part, especially with its lead heroic characters. They're all taking the movie exactly as seriously as it should be. Now, yes, there are certainly serious moments. It's definitely over the top. It's definitely campy. It's definitely cheesy in its dialogue. But you can have fun with it because people like Jamie Foxx, especially Snoop Dogg, are saying it's definitely on the nose cheesy dialogue. So it's definitely fun to see. Again, Jamie Foxx is very good in this movie. He's this undercover vampire hunter. It's just a little bit cool to see this genre again in Netflix, a vampire hunting secret genre. He's excellent in the movie. Dave Franco is also really good as Seth. He's the part that made me laugh the most was the Dave Franco and Snoop Dogg bits in the movie, but Dave Franco for sure was also really excellent. He has very good chemistry with Jamie Foxx, which if that did not work, I'm not sure the whole movie would have worked. Snoop Dogg is very funny. It's cool to see him now acting in an actual character. And he gets to curse a lot and he gets to kill people, and it's a lot of fun to watch Snoop Dogg do Snoop Dogg things. Natasha Liu Bordazzo is also pretty solid in this movie as well. She's getting a lot of attention because she will be playing Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka series next year. So she's starting to come out with some movies in the last couple of years. We'll see if she breaks through in that role as well. Megan Good plays, sadly, the same old Megan Good role. Nothing special here for Megan Good in this movie. And that's kind of the cast. As I said, the action scenes and the stunts are really good in this movie. You can tell that it's actual practical stunt work. While yes, they're vampires, there are people fighting each other, and that brings it more realistic. If it was just vampire CGI flying off the walls and doing all this stuff, it wouldn't work. So the actual stunt work is really excellent in this movie, and just being in LA was also quite cool. But let's get into some of my negatives with this movie. And then that this plot, the story isn't very good. And the biggest reason why this movie doesn't really get to good to me, or even a fresh review, I guess technically, is because that this movie has a major villain problem with Audrey San Fernando, played by Carla Souza, who isn't bad in the movie, but I feel like every time we go to the villain of this movie, the movie just drags, and it feels like I'm watching a different movie, because when you're with Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco and Snoop Dogg, it's very over the top, it's very campy, it's a lot of fun, but it's kind of turn off your brain fun. And then we go to the villains, and it's super serious. You don't care about anything what the villain is planning. And it's by far and away the biggest problem with this movie. This movie had a pretty interesting villain, or just an over the top or even campy performance. I think the movie would have worked better, but I think the way that Souza was directed to be, it just is the most boring and least interesting aspect of the whole movie. And it kills just any tension that the movie would have towards the end of the movie. When you want to see Jamie Foxx go up against this person, you really don't care. It's just another vampire for him to fight, instead of the overall just big bad of the movie. That's why it hits so flat for me, because when you got to the ending, okay, here we go. It's gonna be Bud versus Audrey. You're like, okay, here we go. And then you really felt like it was just Jamie Foxx fighting another vampire instead of fighting the overall big bad villain of the movie. So that was a big misfire for me. Some of the effects felt very cheap, especially for me. That's $100 million budget. This is not great vampire effects work. It felt like TV movie vampire effects when they screw them in on the eyes. It didn't really work, and sometimes they were laughable effects. I don't want to crap on any VFX people, especially with all the stuff that Marvel's coming out with, but I'm just critiquing the movie itself, and the effects are not great. For the vampires, as I said, at times with the villain, it's just hard to balance the over the top and the serious with the vampires. I think also one of the biggest missed opportunities with this movie is world building. We have an underground vampire hunter. Do many people know that vampires are a thing? Why are vampires living in the San Fernando? There just isn't any world building. And I think the movie needed world building to make this a way more interesting and unique film. But it kind of does the usual thing. Oh, there's vampires. I'm a secret vampire hunter. They think I'm a pool cleaner. I just wish there was more, not just not exposition, but just world building of why are vampires here? How do people even find out that there are vampires? I just wish there were just way more world building. So I really like the cast, and the stunt work is really good and keeps it fun enough. The story is just not very good, with the comedy not really working for me that much during the film, with a huge villain problem and no world building as well. So I'm going to give Day Shift a 2.5 out of 5. I'm going to go 50% on Day Shift. Felt like it was okay. It was pretty middle of the road, mediocre. I think another forgettable Netflix film. So let me know your thoughts on this film. Like the video, subscribe to the bell. More reviews are coming down the line. Yesterday, I did a review of the new A24 film, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And on Monday, a box office breakdown show. And more reviews coming, including Beast and She-Hulk coming this week. So please subscribe to the bell, and I'll see you guys soon.